Great news! You have been selected to participate in the succession war to determine who will become the next king of the Kakin Empire. All you have to do is look into this here seed urn and you will be granted a powerful Nen Beast. Look, here it is now. And it looks like your Nen Beast is a YouTube subscribe button, which you can put to use immediately by subscribing to the New World Review for regular Hunter x Hunter content uploaded straight into your YouTube feed. Good luck in the war. Hello and welcome to the New World Review, your source for everything anime and manga. And today it's time for some more modern Hunter x Hunter business as we delve into a very important yet often overlooked aspect of the succession war, which are the three main Mafia families that currently control the large majority of the Black Whale 1. And these guys often get forgotten about, what with all the shiny Nen beasts and princes aboard to focus on, but these Mafia powers actually represent some pretty serious business, which is very interesting because none of the official Kakin princes who are benefactors of these groups knew about Nen prior to the commencement of the succession war. So if anything, these Mafia factions somehow have more advanced knowledge than many of the actual contenders, but let's get straight into them. Within the underworld of the Kakin Empire, there are three great powers that control various black market operations, known as the Jiyu, Hailey, and Cha families respectively. At this point, I'd also like to apologize for any incorrect pronunciation. It is a constant struggle of mine with Hunter x Hunter, which often sports very weird translations and straight up bizarre romanizations, but here we are nonetheless. Now, just because these groups operate in the underworld does not mean that they have no connection to Kakin royalty. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It's more that the Kakin royalty is so overwhelmingly powerful that they even rule over the more questionable elements of their empire. As stated before, each of these families are directly tied to a member of the royal family who act as a benefactor, providing money or various resources in exchange for that Mafia family acting with their best interests in mind. You know, being given the ability to ask for favors and such. However, the connection runs even deeper than this, as each of the three families also happen to be ruled by an illegitimate child of a Kakin king. And in this case, illegitimate means child not produced by an officially recognized queen. These children are given two long scars over a large area of their face to permanently mark them as illegitimate and allowed to live only on the condition that they never appear in public or attempt to involve themselves in empire politics. Although they are very much involved by default due to essentially having an allegiance to an official prince, but whatever. Look, it's a messy situation. But diving into things with our first group, the Jiyu family, who are led by a man named Onio Longbao. And yes, both his name and his head are a direct reference to an onion. But Onio is the half-brother of the current king of the Kakin Empire, Nasubi Huigoro, and his general belief is that life is one big struggle for power, resources, and supremacy. As part of this, he believes that the individuals who possess these features must do everything they possibly can to protect themselves from those who do not. So despite being illegitimate, he shares a very royal mentality, you could say. Speaking of royalty though, the Jiyu family have third Prince Zhang-Lei as their primary benefactor, who is the highest ranking prince involved in the underworld, and naturally, the Jiyu family is also the largest faction of the underworld in terms of both financial resources and pure manpower. Or at the very least they used to be, because since departing on the Black Whale 1, over 300 Jiyu family members have been killed within a mere few days. And while it is unknown how many members the Jiyu family have remaining, it can be assumed that it's quite a comfortable amount, as the balance of power has not yet been thrown into turmoil by the fact that they have lost 300 of their staff. Now, despite being the largest group, the Jiyu family are actually the ones that we have seen the least representation from in the series thus far, with only 3 named characters other than Onio. However, these 3 individuals are rather excitingly all very proficient Nen users, and we will begin with the painfully named Hinri Bigandofno, a really classically Togashi name here. Ugh. My god, why do you do this to me? But Hinri serves as the underboss of the family, and he has currently been ordered by Onio to find Hisoka, who is allegedly somewhere aboard the ship. And he has also been tasked with assassinating Morena, the leader of the heil-ly family, who we'll get to in a bit. But Hinri also happens to be a conjurer with a Hatsu known as Biohazard, which allows him to turn any device or weapon he touches into a living thing, which also manages to retain its original function. And so, for example, in the series, Hinri has used this to turn guns into snakes, and then to have his new snake guns murder their former wielders by using manipulation. Moving further down the ranks, we have 2 more highly trusted Jiyu family members, being Lynch Fuboko and Zakuro Custard, second of which sounds delicious. But Lynch is an emitter with a Hatsu dubbed Body and Soul, which is a really strange creation whereby she asks her target a question, then proceeds to punch them, which will cause her target to give an honest answer. And if she punches them multiple times, then the targets expand on their answer. So I guess you could think of it as something of a truth punch. As for Mr. Custard, this man is a manipulator whose ability is entitled Bloody Mary, allowing Zakuro to freely control his own blood, which means that he generally needs to fight with an open wound, and also results in him carting an IV around with him at all times for practical reasons. But that's more or less what we know of the Jiyu family. So next up, we have the Hailey family, whose primary benefactor is the ever-terrifying 4th Prince Rainek, and is led by Morena Prudo, an illegitimate child of King Nasubi himself. Now, in stark contrast to the other 2 families, the Hailey group possesses a mere 23 members, including Morena, who is by far the youngest leader of the three. And this is because while Morena originally served as a heil-ly member, at some stage she performed a successful coup, usurping power from the former leader, and then going on to order her new family members to kill each other until a mere 22 of them remained. Now why 22? That's a very specific number, and there is a very good reason for this, as Morena is a Nen user whose ability can only be used on a maximum of 22 people. This ability is called Contagion, and it is passed on to a target through Morena's saliva, at which point it begins something of a game-like process, whereby every time someone infected by Contagion kills another person, they level up according to who was killed. So at the moment, the death of a non-Nen user is worth 1 level, while a Nen user is worth 10 levels, and killing an official prince is worth 50 levels. Not only that, but as the infected level up, so does their aura output. And at level 20, they even automatically develop their own Nen ability, thus in effect allowing Morena to create a small army of Nen users. However, it doesn't stop there, because if an infected reaches level 100, then they themselves achieve Morena's status and become what is known as a Member Zero, which allows them to infect a further 22 people with their saliva and begin an entirely new branch of this game. And using this ability, Morena is pursuing her own personal desires to destroy the world, which she perceives as utterly disgusting in every way. So she's a force of anarchy for the sake of, well, anarchy. And currently we know of at least one infected who has developed his own ability, who is Luini, and he now has access to a Hatsu named Spatial Teleportation. And essentially, whenever Luini is locked in a room with but a single door and no other exit, he gains the power to cut open said room with his knife and enter an alternate dimension, which allows him to access any location that he has visited in the past. So he's a very, very tricky man to pin down, but I suppose all you would really need to do is lock him in a room with 2 doors and he's done. But unfortunately, he's the only named member of the Hailey family we know thus far, with the exception of Cashew. And so finally we move on to the Cha family, led by brocco-li. Yes, brocco-li. I'm sure it probably sounds much cooler in Japanese. Maybe. But in any case, this family sports 7th Prince Luzerus as their benefactor, which is very interesting because from everything we've seen of him, he seems like a pretty, chill guy, rather than an underworld overlord, but there you go. Brocco-li, however, is another illegitimate brother of King Nasubi, and the Cha family possess roughly 250 members. Now, rather interestingly, while it does appear that the Cha family, or at least their higher-ups, are familiar with Nen, none of them thus far have presented themselves as Nen users. However, to compensate for this, they have made a temporary alliance with a segment of the Phantom Troop consisting of Finks, Nobunaga, and Feitan. And this is because the Phantom Troop were effectively framed for the murder of a member of the Cha family, which was conducted by Luini, by the way, using his Spatial Teleportation ability. However, the Spiders soon came to an arrangement with the Cha family, and they have offered to kill the teleporting assassin, as well as Morena, head of the Hailey family, in exchange for passage to Tier 1 of the Black Whale. Which, speaking of tiers, each of these families have a domain of tier on the Black Whale 1, with the Cha family controlling Tier 5, the Jiyu family in command of Tier 4, and Hailey maintaining a dominant presence on Tier 3. Despite this, the leaders of each sect are invited to be housed on Tier 1, where both Onio and brocco-li are currently stationed. Morena does not appear to be making use of her Tier 1 accommodation, and is much more in the thick of things. As a result though, each family is granted a method of passage to Tier 1 in order to relay events to their various bosses, which is why Finks and Nobunaga are so keen to be helping out the Cha family, so that they can skip the other tiers and move straight onto the good stuff. But back to Morena for a second, because where brocco-li and Onio share a common view of the world, Morena's rise to power very much threatens to destroy the balance that they have so carefully maintained to this point. In fact, before she went on her contagion spree, the Mafia families operated with a strict set of rules, including the approval of killings from the boss of both the murderer and the boss of the victim. And that might sound really strange, but it essentially allows both of the families to get what they want, being a killing for whatever reason, be it revenge or whatnot, and then a request for compensation from the family who lost one of their members, thus effectively generating revenue from allowing one of their own members to be killed. It's all business, really. However, with over 300 members of the Jiyu family having been killed, and at least 8 victims on the side of the Cha family, these two groups have expressed joint concerns regarding the actions of the Hailey family, and currently hold something of an informal truce based on their shared desire for stability and underworld etiquette. And that rather simply is where we stand at the time of this recording. 3 great families, one of them on a warpath, and so the Jiyu family is gunning for Morena's head with their top officers. The Cha family are also focused on killing Morena after engaging the Phantom Troop, and Morena herself is just out to destroy everything in sight through her incredibly infectious Nen ability. And that pretty much does it for our recap of the great Mafia families at play in the Succession War. If you enjoyed this video and the content this channel produces in general, then please do consider donating to the New World Review Patreon, because the support of all of you amazing people is what continues to make this channel possible. And if Patreon isn't quite your style, then please do leave this video a like, share, or subscribe, because it also helps support this channel an incredible amount. And if you'd like to join the fun at any time, then please do head over to my Discord server, where a wide array of shenaniganry takes place on a daily basis. And finally, please do comment with your thoughts on the 3 great Mafia powers. This has been the New World Review, and I'll see you next time. What do you think comes first? The end of One Piece or the end of the Succession War arc of Hunter x Hunter? Oh, I know that this was probably meant as a joke, but it's actually a tough question. Because even though One Piece still has half a decade left at least, I'd say it maybe is more likely to end first. It sadly just is. Because we have no idea how long the Succession War business will play out, and Togashi would really need to kick things into overdrive in order to end this incredibly politically complex environment that he's put together. Because honestly, even this far into it, he still seems like he's in the stages of building everything. Like, we haven't gotten to much of the meat of the arc yet. It's all mostly just intrigue right now. So maybe if Togashi publishes at least 10 chapters a year, then the Succession War will end before One Piece. But with the disastrous chapterless year that was 2019, I can at least say with certainty that One Piece will end, unlike Hunter x Hunter, sadly. Have you ever watched Fairy Tail? And do you? It's a good anime. So fun fact, I was originally reading Fairy Tail when the very first chapter was published. I was a big fan of Rave Master, which was Mashima's previous work, and Fairy Tail looked like a lot of fun. And truth be told, it was for a while, but I fell out of touch with it after the arc where Loxus is a dick and betrays the guild. That's how vaguely I remember those events. And I know that a ridiculous amount has probably happened since then, but I just can't bring myself to jump back into it, because Fairy Tail got very formulaic, and if you are familiar with Mashima's previous style, then it is a bit difficult to expect him to break that mold. Who is the best character? And why is it Leorio? Well, I suppose it's Leorio. Primarily because he's Leorio.